learning. So we're up to Perek Mem. We're up to Perek Mem Beis, Pasuk Yud Gimel. Yosef is in the middle of his accusation to his brothers. They are Mרגלים. And they had one shackle v'taya about that, and Yosef insisted. The last pasuk we learned in pasuk Yud Beis, Vayomer Alehem Loi ki ervas haaretz basem lebeis. Vayomeru Shnei Asa Avadecha Achim Anachnu Bnei Ish Echad Be'eretz Canaan V'hinei Hakatoin Es Avinu Hayom V'Echad Einan. So firstly, before we get into the details of this pasuk, we have to note that they offered new information, which they haven't offered before. And the fact that they offered new information is a problem. Why did they offer new information? And this is not my kasha, but this is Yaakov Avinu's kasha, where he asks his sons in Perek Mem Gimel, why would you say that? It's only going to come back to harm me. And their answer is, he asked us. And indeed, some of the Mefarshim, like Rav Ben Rambam quotes this from his grandfather, and others say that there's like a midah in the Torah where it gives you more information later, but you can't understand this story until you find out later that he asked them. Because what are they offering this for? Okay? Others learn that they're offering more information to corroborate this story and to give him kinds of details that he can then corroborate to prove that it is indeed as they say. Okay, fine. Anyways, and his response is the next pasuk, Hu Asher Dibarti. That's what we have to understand. He says, see, that's as I said. So now let's focus on this pasuk, on pasuk Yud Gimel. Let's learn some difficulties here. Just type it. So they told them first that they're 12. There's 2 more brothers that they hadn't presented earlier. Before they said, as the pasuk said earlier, that 10 of them came, and they were presenting themselves as Kolonu b'nei Shechad Nachnu, and now they tell them that actually we are, Anachnu are really Shneim Asa Achim. V'hine. Now I don't know what to make of this v'hine, because usually v'hine is something, it's chadish, something that you're noticing. So I don't know. This v'hine strikes me as funny. Okay, I'm not sure about that.
Well, he's answering a question that would arise.
So you wonder, where is he? The answer is v'hine. It's still not a v'hine. It's like, yeah, just like v'echad einenu, it's not a v'hine unless the v'hine is going like that also. But why is that v'hine? A question would arise. So you say v'hine. I don't think addressing a question that arises gets a v'hine. Okay, hakatoin es avinu. Okay, what does that mean? How does that explain it? The youngest is with our father. Why is it so? In other words, they're not just saying, okay, there's 12 of us, and here's the inventory, here's 10 of us, one of them is missing, and one of them is. Let's say they call him the katan, because they're explaining why he's not here. He's the katan, and therefore he belongs to the Vinu, and this gets more detail when it's re-quoted in beginning of Vayigash, that Yehuda says, we told you that Perek, beginning of Vayigash, pasuk Chav, Yeshanu av zakein v'yeled zikudim katan. So he's a baby, and he has to be with his father because he was born to his father in his old age. His father, meaning if there's a katan, so that means the father had a baby in his old age, and therefore he's close to him, and that explains why the katan is with Avinu. Okay, now what's hayoy? What does hayoy mean? Today he's with him. So I sort of say there's Seichel Toiv, I'm not sure who that is. He says, I think this is the correct shot. He says it's like saying Baruch Hashem, he's still alive, because they're about to contrast the Echad Einenu. So it's saying, look, Baruch Hashem, till now at this point everything's okay. Hayoim, he survived till now, although his other brother's missing. And of course this is gets back to the danger to the danger that Binyamin will go missing, and the Ratim Esei Vasi Birgin Sha'ola, and Yehudi says V'chatasi Lavi Kol Hayamim, because the point is, look, one of them is missing, and therefore his father is more attached to the other one, who is Kayim still there. But we're afraid that might change in the future, and therefore we don't want to risk anything. And Taka, that changes later, and there's this danger of V'chatasi Lavi Kol Hayamim, because Hayom, as of now, it's like recognizing the luck and the bracha that for now he's still okay, he's still there.
Right. But they specifically referenced in Vayigash and Memdal Chaf, where they say Yesh lanu of zaken v'yelad zakenim katan v'achiv meis v'ayvased hu levadei li'imod.
Right.
She doesn't say it.
Right. He doesn't say it. Correct. There might be a diuk.
Actually, it's not clear who we're speaking.
And therefore what? So what?
No. Just noting that it says they vayemru.
Yeah.
Later it's specifically Yehuda, but now.
Well, he's quoting.
Yeah.
He's quoting what we said.
Mm-hmm.
He says we said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right. Here it doesn't say that these two brothers have a unique connection. Correct. It doesn't talk about that. Only there he says le'imai, right?
Yeah.
That there's a unique connection. Okay. Fine. So that's Hayoim and V'echad Einenu. This Einenu is like Reuven returned to the bar, and he said Hayelad Einenu. Einenu means he's missing, like the Einenu by Chanoich, Einenu, and then there's a whole mystery. What happened to him? Did he die? Did he not die? And similarly here, they said he's Einenu. From the beginning of Vayigash, they said V'achiv Meis. So that's something to think about when we get there. Okay, but that's the point, as we mentioned earlier, that this is Mechazik. The katan as Avinu Hayoim, because Echad Einenu, therefore there's a hole, there's a gap, and the katan, the father wants the katan to be near. Okay. And Yosef's response is a very strange response. He says, Hu asher dibarti aleichem lima maragim atem. That's exactly as I said to you. So how does it confirm his suspicion of Demaragim? So now, I want to just point out a few things. First of all, so the basic structure is originally they presented themselves as 10 brothers, and then they admitted that there are actually 2 more. And those 2 more are, of course, very important people because in this story, because they're Yosef and Binyamin. Yosef and his full brother, right? So in other words, you can look at it like this. Originally, they didn't acknowledge the achva of Yosef and Binyamin. They didn't acknowledge the achva with the children of Rachel. And Yosef induces them to admit that actually we are brothers to 2 more people. So the old question of what the stance is of the children of Rachel and the old rivalry is manifested in of course in the son of Yosef and his brothers, story of Yosef and his brothers. But then again over here it's like, well, are you 10 brothers? No, okay, actually there really are 2 more that we didn't tell you about. Okay. And so now, Hu asher dibarti aleichem, some say that's what it means. It's like, oh look, I caught you lying because originally you said 10 and now you're telling me that actually there's more. So I see you're up to some trick. And some say, I forgot who says this, that Echad Einenu, what is this business about a missing brother, and you won't tell me about him, clearly you're a bunch of gangsters, and there's something shady about no, because they didn't say what happened to him. He's Einenu, he's missing, he's missing, because you're up to no good, or because you're going to claim you're looking for him like the Medrash. Famous Medrash that says, Rashi brings it, right? That they said, we're looking for a brother. And what are you going to do about it? You're going to wage war to get it back? Oh, so you're bad guy. So basically, Einenu is a pretext. It's another way to read it. I mean, Mam Shem Shutai. Echad Einenu, you're saying you have a missing brother, so that confirms my story, that confirms my claim that you're Meraglin, and that you're using this supposed missing brother as a pretext for wandering around and looking for him. So it follows. Or that, there's something suspicious. Just the death itself is something very suspicious. You never told me about this missing brother and this little one, and now I'm telling you about this new information. Something very suspicious about it. Okay. And he says in Pasuk Tezvav, so we have to test you. One of them is Einenu, can't do anything about that. But this Achichem HaKatan is verifiable, and he swears by Paroi, whoever Chei Paroi, he's not going to go into the nature of Shavuos of Chei Paroi, which is a big question, by the way, what that means, Chei Paroi. What it means b'chal to swear, but he swears what?
What it means to swear?
No, what it means to swear that way. That nusach of Chai. Hashem says Chai Ani, and we have Chai Paroi. All the time.
Hashem, Hashem,
Right, we have Chai Hashem. There's never Chai Stamazoi by anyone but for Paroi, which is basically, we'll get that in a second. And, or if you're talking to the person, you could say, swear by that person. Chai Nafshecha. Chai Hashem Chai Nafshecha, you have. In the S10, I think, I forgot where that is. So you can swear by Hashem and the person that you're talking to. No one ever swears by himself except for Hashem. And no one ever swears by Stamazoi kings, but by Paroi, yes. And it's very significant because Paroi is like a god. The whole story starts, Paroi Ibn Aliyar, Paroi makes himself like a god, right? And we saw already in Yeshaya Perek Yutes. Yeshaya Perek Yutes talks about Hashem is bringing Paroi to its knees and showing how they have no chachma. And of course, it's mechuvin to this parasha where the Chachmei Paroi couldn't interpret his dream, only Yosef could predict what Hashem is yoyed on Mitzrayim. And there in Yeshaya, this is of course all Chazar, there in Yeshaya Perek Yutes it says eventually Mitzrayim is going to come around and serve Hashem. By Yomahu Yiu Chamesh Orim Be'eretz Mitzrayim Medabris Fas Kenan V'Nishbois Lashem Tzefakos Ira Heresi Omer Lechos. And that is going to be 5 cities in Land Mitzrayim that speaks the language of Canaan and swear Hashem Tzefakos. And one of them is called Irhes. Just a chazar. Chamesh Orim. Yosef is busy with the Orim of Mitzrayim. Medabris Fas Kenan is because he's Sfas Lo Yadati Eshma in Mitzrayim. They don't speak Sfas Kenan. And Nishbois Lashem Tzefakos, unlike Yosef who said Chei Paroi, Ira Heresi Omer Lechos is Oin. Spoke about this in Shir Oin. Coming Oin. Oin is Ira Heres, Heliopolis. Yeah, that's what it is. And okay. And right, also we spoke about this too. That in Micha, not in Micha, almost so very fast, what?
All these sun worshippers.
Yeah, we spoke about that, right? Heres, sun, right? And yeah, in Beis Shemesh there was a connection to that. Okay, and in Amos Perekes, which is all about Yosef and the brothers, it ends saying that the Besulas Hayofis and the Bachurim are going to faint from thirst. It talks about the true Rav, which is denoted by Hashem, and these people are going to die and faint from thirst. And the last pasuk in Perekes is Hanish Ba'im Ba'ashmas Shomroim V'Omru Chei Alehecha Don V'Chei Derech Be'Shava. So they swear by gods. They swear by the Ashma of Shomroim. They swear by the God of Dan and the Derech Be'Sheva, which is a shrine. And they worship Be'Sheva. The one eagle of Yerov was in Be'Sheva. The Nafel Lo Yikumu Oid is like Nafel Lo Yisef Kum, Besulas Yisrael, and that parak is about Yosef, as we discussed. So Yosef swears by Paroi. He's identifying over here. He's identifying as a thorough Egyptian who actually accepts Paroi as a deity. And that's what it means to. That's the significance of Yosef swearing by Paroi. And one day, Mitzrayim is going to come around, and instead they're going to swear by Hashem Tzedakos as one should. Right. Good. And he tells them in Tetzum, he said you can't leave, and of course this confirms the authority that Paroi invested in with Lo Yoram Ish Es Yodeh B'Es Raglav Choletz Mitzrayim. Right? You can arrest people. You can call them Meraglim. You can say that they have no freedom of movement because you think they're using it or abusing it, and therefore you could be you can arrest them. And this is the pasuk in Tehillim, Le'eser Sorov B'Nafshoy. The Aleph is really Lesser Sorov B'Nafshoy. Yosef was given the rights to arrest people, to tie them up, to lock them down, and have Atam He'osru, the next pasuk, is of course the same word of Lesser Sorov. Okay, so now we have to figure out what's going on in Pshat. In Pshat, everything is very difficult, meaning to say, what is Yosef trying to do? What is he trying to accomplish? No one really knows. What I mean to say is, everyone, no one first talk about it, but it's hard to figure out from the story what is going on. What does Yosef want? So what I'm going to do is, I was a little bit hesitant about taking this path, which is, I'm going to continue reading these psukim according to the medrash that we discussed, I think, in the last year. The medrash of the brothers as Meraglim. And this is something which is very, very clear. So I have no doubt that this is correct. But what I'm assuming, the reason why I'm hesitant is I'm not sure if we can understand, if we're supposed to understand this psukim only on this deep level of drash, or there's also some other level. But right now I'm going to do the drash. The drash is like this. That as we've been learning, Yosef's shita is that we have to initiate and embrace gos. Meaning when Yosef brought Diba Ra'ah to his brothers, instead of the davar hatoiv, which is shalom, he is anti the word shalom. The word shalom is the word of neviim, and it means to say it like this. It means neviim are those who can express and explain what the shalom is. Shalom is, as the pasuk says, Nishaya, Hashem calls to the world, shalom, shalom, karev. Bari nivs v'sayim, the speech of the neviim is, they understand the shalom of Hashem, and they respond to it, and they explain it, say, oh, Hashem is calling to us the shalom, which means Hashem is willing to communicate with us. He wants to cooperate with us. Here's how. They explain that. And fine, what does it mean they explain that? What does it mean? It means that everything that happens when they're on neviim happens according to the Navi's Hasaga. It means humans can understand Hashem. Hashem works with and cooperates with humans. That is the paradigm called Nevuah, called Geula, and that's the paradigm of Eretz Yisrael, and that's what Yirmiyah is very in favor of that, and says Hashem fills heaven and earth, which means Hashem is accessible. You could explain him. Humans can explain Hashem. And Yosef says, no, I want to mix things up a little bit. I want to bring a Diba Ra. Why? How could Ra be Toiv? Right? How could Hester be a good thing? Because, as we discussed, this is quick chazara, that there's only one way that you could say, as Yosef told the brothers, look, you guys meant to do evil and Hashem meant to good, which is, you have to first mix in a little evil. There's only one way Yirmiyah could say to the people in Bavel, even though you can't understand what's going on, I have machshavos toivos on you. Machshavos toivos, and after 7 years you're going to be redeemed. Machshavos toivos means, in Geula there's no machshavos toivos, in Geula there's diburim toivos, because the Navi speaks. Machshavos toivos means we can't articulate, the Navi can't explain what's going on. That's what Hester means. And then you're going to look back and say, wow, it didn't make any sense, and still Hashem operates. Which means Hashem operates, Hashem has a plan, Hashem operates even on a plane that humans can't explain, so that allows for a greater revelation, or a different kind of revelation, let's say. And maybe something that we can then learn from and then build on and become greater Nevi'im. That's a different discussion. So Yosef's introduced a little Diba Ra, not as a bug, but as a feature. That's what he's out to do. He's out to mix things up a little bit. He's out to have dreams and not have Nevuah, and have dreams about Galus, and initiate the Galus through his dreams. This is exactly what he wants to do. Okay.
And dreams are about that.
And dreams are about that, and dreams reflect that there's no Nevuah, and therefore the Shvatim want to kill him, and as we keep on saying, the Shvatim were very, 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 very good judgment for killing him. And that's why, by the way, so this is one thing, I said I'm a little hesitant to read the Psukim this way. Why? Because this is like, it's not really Pshat, something was going on, but it really is Pshat, because it's taka true, it's taka borah, that this is what was going on between Yosef and the brothers. So therefore, read this whole story on that level also is not, I don't know if it's like, it's not remez. We're talking about, you can imagine, kids, imagine all these people who are having a conversation, having machlekes, two big tzaddikim, and every word they way is reflecting Avodas Hashem, and they start having a machlekes with each other, start talking to each other, start playing games with each other, show you. So you have to read it up. And one of the being around is too fine. Anyways, so that's not pshat, whatever. Okay, we don't have to go into this because I'm just sharing my ambivalence about whether we're treating is adequate. Okay, so now this is bar. This is bar that is the machlekes from the brothers. Next, and the brothers want to do everything as Yisrael dik and Nevuah, and comes Micha and says, you people love Toiv and hate. Love Ra and hate Toiv, because the Shvatim, by selling Yosef, they lost the Nevuah. They lost the Nevuah, as the Psukim say. Yosef was the only one that has a Ruach Elokim, and Micha says that Hashem is not going to give Micha Gimel. Hashem is not going to give Nevuah to the Levim anymore, who stripped people's skin from them. Basically, what they did to Yosef. What they did to Yosef indicates that they don't have Das Hashem, says the Navi, turns it back on them. In other words, Yosef instigates and initiates, let's do a little Hester. Okay, the Shvatim apparently went overboard or whatever they did, and they showed that they themselves are not worthy of Das Hashem, or Gilu Hashem, and therefore, as we discussed numerous times, we mentioned by Yisrael, by Yirurine, Erchas Rishmein, Ba'am Megillah is a failed Nevuah. They were supposed to see the Kayetz, as Amos saw, a Kluv Kayetz, which was a sin in Boha Kayetz, and I'm not going to forgive you for the sins of selling the Ani, and they didn't see that because they lost their power of Nevuah. Okay.
Because of what they had already done.
Because of what they did, right. So the kids of Yosef, so it's very interesting, Yosef, by dreaming about Hester and provoking the brothers, he brought them down to his level. You have to understand that. All it's Yosef's fault. Meaning it starts by Yovi Yosef Esti Basar Ra. That's just, they were perfect. Yosef says, I'm going to bring in a little deeper Ra, and they responded by actually doing Ra. And by saying, as Micha says, you have a Ra, and so you got it all messed up. And Yosef was Oyev Ra. He was the first Oyev Ra. Yovi Yosef Esti Basar Ra. He's into Ra. He thinks Ra is type. This is the idea. He thinks that we have to enough a little Ra in order for Hashem to show how awesome he is that he even does Toiv through Ra, right? Fine. And the brothers came down to, he brought them down to his level. Okay, my point is not to blame them, just saying the sequence is Yosef initiates Ra, and then the brothers also become
Question
Ra.
is why?
Why what?
Why did Yosef begin it?
Yeah, I mean, because Yosef is, that's what he is, I don't know. That's what he is.
He thinks that's his way, so therefore he has to do it with everyone else.
So, I don't know. Yeah, it's a good, that's a very interesting question. You're right, it's a very good question.
Or maybe maybe it does start with Rachel.
Start?
With
Does it
Rachel.
start with what? I didn't hear what he said.
Maybe it starts with Rachel. It starts with all.
Yeah, of course, you can trace it back to Rachel for sure. She's with the truffle.
Even before that, there's the whole structure of what is it? She's Yifas Tar Yifas Naya.
Yeah.
So he's also Yifas Tar.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
it's maybe related to this idea.
For sure. Truffle only Myra. Yeah. 100%.
How exactly? I don't know.
Say it. No. Okay. Sorry, not for now.
Okay.
Not for now. Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, now, next thing. As we've also learned in this whole Mikates, Perknam Aleph, Perknam Aleph, and Beis, Mitzrayim's Kamat became Eretz Yisrael. Why? Because the difference between Eretz Mitzrayim and Eretz Yisrael is, as the Pasuk says, right? That Eretz Mitzrayim doesn't get affected by hungers. And therefore, they're not holding Shemayim. Masha'ik Eretz Yisrael is Umtar Shemayim Tishtamayim, and therefore Hem Shemayim Tishmu. That's the difference, like Eretz Mitzrayim, like Eretz Mitzrayim. Right, that's Canaan podcast. So here, where Eretz Mitzrayim is surprise. Eretz Mitzrayim itself is affected by the Rav. So Mitzrayim is Eretz Canaan. Oh, but it's not. Why? Because Jesus came to the rescue and said, you know, you guys, yes, this Rav is going to affect you, but it's not going to affect you because you're so wealthy that even when there is a Rav, even when the Rav affects your land, it's still not going to hurt you because you're so wealthy that you could put away 7 years for another 7 years, right? So here Mitzrayim is in between becoming Eretz Yisrael, and had Yosef not intervened, Eretz Mitzrayim would have been Eretz Yisrael, which is exactly what Yosef sort of doesn't want. Right? Yosef is trying to do Gullus, and the Shvatim are trying to do Eretz Yisrael. So when Yosef accused them of being Meraglin and coming to see the Ervas Haaretz, it is actually a very valid time there because I see the Eretz Yisrael, and we show it. I'm not going to go into this again. I think we showed it last year that every time they go down to Mitzrayim, it's because Mitzrayim may be a good place for us. Maybe we belong in Mitzrayim. Not in Gulus. Maybe we belong there. When Avram went to Mitzrayim, when Yitzchak is happy to go down to Mitzrayim, so it's maybe we belong there. Maybe we belong there. So yes, maybe we belong there because I see that social fashion. Mitzrayim is about to become Kiddush Yisrael one day, and so Yosef tells him Meraglamatem because you love this. You're very excited about the idea that Mitzrayim has a Rav. And you're very happy to see Mitzrayim as a Rav, and you have to see maybe Taka now it's finally time. And Mitzrayim, as Yeshaya says in Perek Tes, Hashem is going to smite Mitzrayim, no go through Rafai, and then they're going to know Hashem. So you're very excited about this. One day Mitzrayim is going to be Tzmas Canaan and have Mizbeach. When Hashem shmeises it and the Merapeh it. So you're very excited to come and see whether this is the case. I'm like, no, we're here for food, which means that we like Mitzrayim to be. We're not sure. We don't want Mitzrayim to be like the land of Canaan. We're not ready for that yet. We would have starved to death in the land of Canaan because we're not doing Haim Shemai apparently, and we need to come to Mitzrayim. And Mitzrayim has a place of food, so that's what they're debating. Okay, fine. Now, good. That was the Adkan from last year, but I want to just point out what happens now here. Very interesting happens in our story, which is, are they 10? First they present themselves at 10, but then they actually say there's 12. And Yosef says Meraglin, right? Now, Arizal says. It really is Balturim first. Balturim right over here says Meraglamatem. He told them, "You guys are going to be Meraglim in Eretz Yisrael." Arizal brings this in Shlach and Sha'agul that you Meraglamatem means you are. He's accusing them of their sin in the future, of being the spies. And Yehuda says, "Loi." Yehuda speaking because you guys was telling you guys are Meraglim. I'm not because I'm going to have Yeshua. And Yehuda said, Loiki, and he also says Loiki, the Baal Tur says Loiki is Gematria Kalev. Loiki is Gematria Kalev. Right? Wait. It is? It's about 2 says, but it's not adding up, okay? Right? Okay. I jumped about 2 him. Alright, you can look it up in that probably look up the Chumash. Whatever if you want. Anyways, the point is that there's a Meraglin thing going on here. And I think what's very interesting is that, like I said, are they 10 or are they 12? Now how many Meraglin were there? So there were 12 Meraglin. Okay, sometimes I think oddly there were 10 Meraglin because there were 10 of them that did it wrong, 2 of them that did it right. So there's a theme of there's this thing about the 10 and the 12 happening. Now, okay, so where does it come in that Yosef should be talking about the Meraglim and Shlach? Because the whole point of the debate between Yosef and the brothers is that the brothers are all into Eretz Yisrael, right? They're all into Eretz Yisrael. And Yosef's like, take it easy with Eretz Yisrael, I think we need some Golos. And he's telling them, you guys think that you're going to do Eretz Yisrael in the whole world, but on the contrary, you're not even going to be Zayich to Eretz Yisrael in Eretz Yisrael, because you're going to the Meraglim. So you're all gung ho about Arz Asher Eka, about making Eretz Yisrael, about being Zayich to Eretz Yisrael. So it's wissen, nicht as a Pashat. So in other words, better there's 2 readings of Meraglim. In Meraglim, I'll tell you one at a time to be like Eretz Yisrael, but it's also relevant to the fact that one day there's going to be Meraglim who are not even going to embrace Eretz Yisrael. Until what? Until they go to Golos. Until they stay in the Midbar for 40 years. And similarly, says Yosef, let's do this right. Let's go to Golos. And perhaps, this is where you have to go deeper into this. This whole idea of the Meraglim not to make Golos before they go to Eretz Yisrael. Well, there's also Golos Mitzrayim. So why couldn't that prepare us for Eretz Yisrael? Why couldn't the Arba Be'ez Shana prepare us instead of the Arba Shana B'Midbar, right? In as much as you need the Golos to proceed. It's always the Golos precedes. Then they're going to come to Eretz Yisrael. Okay, now you go to Midbar another 40 years. So we get to Golos Mitzrayim, didn't work, Lagami. I'm just speculating. Yosef is telling them, I'm going to make it work. I want to do this right. I want to understand why Golos Mitzrayim is a good thing, because it prepares us not to be a bad Meragel. You guys who are not doing Golos Mitzrayim, you're the ones who are trying to push off Golos Mitzrayim, and I'm the one who's working with it. So listen, if you don't do this, if you don't do the Golos, if you don't accept your Tedek Zeracha and make it, and like that, then you're going to be Meragel, and you have to do it again in the Midbar B'Moshe. That's speculative. In other words, whether Yosef's okay.
If he's right, he only did it halfway.
Why?
Because he only had
right. Yeah. Well, he did his whole thing over here halfway because he capitulated at some point. That's the thing. He capitulated and then he's like, okay, I'll tell you who I am, and he stopped playing his games at some point. And I'm not sure what happened. Right? This is so one way to read it is he's trying to get Binyamin on his side because maybe he thinks Binyamin is also a shtickle mitzvah like him. That's another question here. But again, we have to figure out even in this paragraph. Right. Well, why?
Why? Like Shmuel told Shaul.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. Shaul does the trough too.
Right, the Chatas Kesem area.
Yeah. Shaul does the necromancy, right?
Yeah.
The oiv.
Because the oiv, yeah.
Yeah. Avada. Right. That's the big question. That Shaul, is he going to eradicate the oiv? Not right. Yeah. So maybe no one's on his side. But again, so in other words, what does he want to do? Like you're saying, did he accomplish it? Did he not accomplish it? Right. But again, that's what it's just speculative. My point was that the story of the Meraglim, which is a Chayr Shaykhis here, has a lot of Shaykhis, because the whole question of Yosef and the brothers is about Golos and Eretz Yisrael. And so you guys are coming here to make this into Eretz Yisrael. That's one way to read it. Another way to read it is you guys have no Shaykhis to Eretz Yisrael because look what's going to happen. It's going to be a story of the Meraglim, and you're not going to live up to Eretz Yisrael anyway. So once you realize that Golos is the way to go and do things my way.
The Rayas, you failed already because you have to come here for food.
What?
The Raya is you failed already because you have to come here for food.
I didn't hear what you said. What?
The Raya is that they failed already because they have to come to Mitzrayim.
Who's Raya? Who's Raya?
Yosef's Raya might be. You have to come to Mitzrayim for food. You have to come to the Golos place.
Exactly. Right,
because you're not doing it.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. He understood that the reason why they're here is because again you have to go back to how this happened because it's all Yosef's fault that Mitzrayim has food. Mm-hmm. It could have been that Mitzrayim, he could have given Pyro Rosh Shoes, and then Pyro, what would have happened? Right, it's a Shekas Yirev. I don't know, we have to go back to there. What would have happened had Yosef not come up with his big Eitzah of being the Sheshuach, the Kimbai, and so on and so forth. Okay, so just another zushtel is that Yosef brings Diba Ra, and the Meraglin bring Diba Saretz Ra, right? So there's this whole sort of like a debate. It's one or the other. Yosef brings Diba Ra, he wants to get down to Mitzrayim. Let's get this over with. And if not, maybe, if you're not, then who's going to be the Meraglin are going to be Diba Ra. Okay, and also the other zushtel is that he swore Chei Parai, that he's locking them up until they prove themselves. And Hashem swore Chai Ani that they're going to stay in the desert until they can go back to the promised land. Yosef said, I'm not letting you go back. Okay. Next. One more things like this. In the Pasuk Tezvav, Yosef tells them, B'zois Tibachenu. B'zois Tibachenu, right? So, this Tibachenu, no question about this, because if you read our Parsha as one should, Keneged Mizmor Pei Zayin, not Pei Zayin. Pei Aleph, which is today's Shir. Yosef, right? So we read our parak Keneged Mizmor, and we keep on doing this, and we found time and again all the references in Mizmor Pei Aleph elucidate this Hashtabi kids. There it says, it talks about Bechina, being tested. And it says that Hashem tests us. Evchoncha Amei Meriva. Okay? And what's the Bechina? The Bechina is Lo Yebecha El Zor. What does he want to tell us? What do we want to see whether we listen or not? Not to bow to El Nechar. I am Hashem took out of Mitzrayim. V'lo Shama Ami L'Koyli. And just to Chazer, they bowed to Yosef, who was Misnaker, and we just learned that Yosef says Chei Para, he's considering Para like a god. So he's identifying himself. I mean, he's a subject of the El Necha of Para, and they're bowing to him. He's being Misnaker, he's making himself like a Mitzri, and they're bowing to him, so they're being over, as it were, sort of Lishtach Alidach. Just to reiterate, I don't know, one of the things we spoke about. The Shlosh Edem Lefnei Akum, Shlosh Yom Lefnei Edem Shel Akum, we're now allowed to do and Yosef's rise to greatness is that Shlosh Yom is going to be the Para's birthday, which is one of the Ginusi Shemalachim. He's being Yosef with the Samash. So Yosef is all in on the Mitzri game of the El Necha of Para. That's him. And and Hashem tests Bnei Yisrael whether they're going to bow to El Necha. The Am doesn't listen. Ami. And here Yosef is being boichem them, and we spoke about this too. That in Yeshaya it says that eventually when Mitzrayim is going to come around, Baruch Ami Mitzrayim. So the question is, who's the Am Hashem? Who's the Am Hashem? Who's Hashem's people? So Yosef is saying, this is the way to go. We're going to do it in Mitzrayim. They're going to be the Ami somehow or another. And the Shvatim are supposed to stand for being Ami of Hashem in Eretz Yisrael, and then Lo Yishtach Havel Le'el Nechar. And they do, and Hashem tests them, and they fail. Okay, so the connected that, I was just pointing out the word V'yibachanu. This word V'yibachanu is picked up in the Mizmar about this parasha, and uses the word Avchad. But I want to show one more thing, which is just one more point, which is that we spoke about Mizmar Pei Aleph, this Mizmar, and we spoke about this in the past. We spoke about the parallels between Mizmar Pei Aleph and Mizmar Tzadik Hey, the parallels are briefly Haninu Lelekim Muzenu L'chu Nirvana, Hariyu Lelekim Yaakov, Nariyu L'tzu Yeshev. And in L'chu Nirvana it says Hayoyim Mikodesh Yishma'u, and in Mizmar Pei Aleph it talks about Lu Ami Shaveli, if only they would listen. And Al Takshu Levavchem Kim Riva, don't have Kashas Alev, and in Mizmar Pei Aleph it talks about Vayechu B'Shri'us Libo. And of course it talks about Mariva in both Mizmarim, and here it says B'chanuni, they tested Hashem, and Lo Yodu Drachai, right? And in Mizmar Pei Aleph it says Yisrael, if only Yisrael B'drachai Yahalechu. But so now my point is that if you look at Mizmar Tzadikei is about the Meraglin. Arba'im Shana Akut B'dar, Armam Teilev Him Lo Yodu Drachai. So there in Mizmar Pei Aleph is Hashem being boichem us. In Mizmar Tzadikei we're being boichem Hashem, and so we have the two aspects of Bechina, of testing, and in Mizmar Tzadikei we test Hashem, even though we should have known his actions, and therefore Hashem says, so you have to stay in the midbar. Similarly, because of the Meraglim, right? So similarly, in our parish, in our parak, where we have Yosef being boichin them, and Yosef being boichin them, there's also the question of, are they Meraglim or not? Should they be locked up and not be allowed to go to Eretz Yisrael, like it says over there, and I said they're not going to, they can't go back. It's like they're locked up, like Yosef locked up his brothers. And that is all